shout out to everybody on the boxing ground. We back as Boxing Link and more. We're talking about my homie Vince Camper, body snatcher for Vince Camper number 2, with the Roman number 2. Had a question. Said why does Anthony Joshua get so much credit for beating a washed up past his prime, 18-month layoff, coming off a loss to Tyson Fury, Wladimir Klitschko. Now we talked about this before. And I give credit to Anthony Joshua. He did step up when Deontay Wilder had an opportunity to step up and fight Klitschko. He didn't do it. Anthony Joshua capitalized on the opportunity to beat an ailing Klitschko, but it was a big fight. He showed up in a big fight. I still believe it was a little bit fishy, in my opinion, why Wladimir stopped punching for like 3 or 4 rounds to let Joshua off the hook. But at the end of the day, he got the job done. You know, you can't take that away from Anthony Joshua. He retired a legend, to y'all. But Vince, right, Wladimir Klitschko, body of work is massively overrated. And what they doing now is, like Gennady Golovkin, what they doing is basically saying that he's been undefeated, or he won this many fights in a row, or he reigned over the heavyweight division. I mean, if I'm playing one-on-one with a bunch of 2-year-olds, of course I'm gonna go 50-0 as well. And Wladimir Klitschko ain't fought nobody, in that reign. It was piss poor, you know what I'm saying? He got knocked out by Layman Brewster, he got knocked out by Corey Sanders, a guy named Ross Purity. I mean, lost to Tyson Fury, lost to Anthony Joshua. I mean, every big fight he had, or step-up fight that he had, I mean, he really lost. I mean, who was the best win? What he fought? Hakeem Rockman, past his prime. What he beat? Sam Peters twice. Whoop-de-blam. Whoop-de-doo. I mean, he lost to Layman Brewster. Who he beat? Calvin Brock. You look at it overall, Chris Bird for his brother Wladimir Klitschko, that's his best win. Underside Chris Bird. You feel me? And his career is massively overrated. People say, oh, he reigned over this many people and this and that, man. You gotta show me some flamboyancy in your resume. You gotta show me where you won a big fight. If the opponents, wasn't there, that ain't my fault. If you beat all guys that was underqualified or just, wasn't cutting it, and that's what you presented to, well, you best believe when you get a fight like Anthony Joshua and a fight like Tyson Fury, you best to come up big and cash in. You feel me? And he didn't. He came up short. And, in the same world, dude, looking at this resume, this might not even be Hall of Fame worthy, man. Look, Vince is right. This might be one of the most overrated resumes. And people say, we could do it to Bernard. And these Bernard beat Oscar De La Hoya, Felix Trinidad. You feel me? He competed with Ray Jones. He lost to Jermaine Taylor twice. It is what it is. He beat Stinky Winky Wright. At the end of the day, he had some good wins. He went up and beat John Pascal when he was on fire. He still had standout wins. You know what I'm saying? And never been knocked out. Wladimir Klitschko was knocked out 4 times, and the one time he didn't get knocked out, he lost to Tyson Fury. And some of his wins is very unimpressive. And Anthony Joshua's career has really been, his basis career is on beating a guy who really ain't never really been shit in Wladimir Klitschko, excuse my French. And it's really trying to catapult his popularity to another level. He act like he beat a prime Mike Tyson. He beat a Lennox Lewis. He beat an Evander Holyfield. He didn't even beat Riddick Bowe. I think Riddick Bowe's career is better than Wladimir Klitschko when you look at the names on his resume, or about on par. You feel me? So at the end of the day, yes, it's overrated. The whole situation is overrated. Wladimir Klitschko is overrated. He's a good fighter, but he was soft. He was soft as sharpened tissue on a rainy day in New York City in Times Square. Lay the tissue on the goddamn concrete, and it tear apart itself, and that's Wladimir Klitschko. Vitaly Klitschko, he was the good Klitschko. I understand Chris Bird beat him because he had a shoulder injury, but he had the chin. He competed with Lennox Lewis. If Lennox Lewis landed those bombs on Wladimir Klitschko, he'd be sleep still until today. His career would have been over with. You feel me? But yeah, I agree with this, man. This is one of the most overrated situations, and you can say, oh, it ain't Anthony Joshua fault. Hey, it may not be. It is what it is. But he beat a guy that was already overrated and brittle to begin with. How did it take you 11 rounds? What was it, 11 rounds to knock out a guy that been knocked out quickly before, been knocked out at some point before? Then he was 41 on top of that. This dude was knocked out early in his career, in the middle of his career, and it took you 11 rounds to knock out a 41-year-old. You did. So, a lot of people just like Anthony Joshua. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people buying the hype. They're drinking the Kool-Aid, no matter if it's pink, purple, blue, with minimum sugar. If it's white people Kool-Aid, they drinking it. You feel me? And, I ain't never drunk Kool-Aid from none of these heavyweights, man. These heavyweights don't compare to Muhammad Ali, not even the Ernie Shavers guys that came up short. Not even George Foreman, Joe Louis, Sonny Liston, Jack Johnson. I can go on and on. Larry Holmes. A lot of these guys shouldn't even be allowed to stand next to them guys. Any guys in the last 20 years in the heavyweight division, I can remember, maybe besides like Lennox and kind of that end of that era, other than the Lennox and the Wladimir Klitschko, what was that, 99, 2008 fought? Other than that, man, none of them guys don't even deserve to stand next to them. Their name should not be written next to any of these legendary heavyweights, man. All these guys are frauds. You know what I'm saying? For pretty much, man. And at the end of the day, Anthony Joshua supposed to be this Billy Badass, this star. You see Marvin Hagler endorsing Anthony Joshua. Oh, he's the next biggest star. Like, shut your bald-headed Mr. Clean ass on, man. These dudes from America will ride on Anthony Joshua's jock and not credit none of the American boxers. I ain't even gotta make it about Wilder. Why Hagler can't say, you know what, Terence Crawford is the next star. You know what I'm saying? He coming on up. Why he can't say, something like that? Endorse somebody in America. They quick to endorse somebody else. And that's what I be talking about, the American black community. They won't uplift none of the fighters. None of the old fighters will come out here and say too much positive about these young fighters unless they promote them or they cool with them. They won't come out here and show love and come out and promote these guys other than the few people that do that. Other than the Larry Holmes who give people advice. Other than people like Evander Holyfield that know what it is. These guys, these old guys come back in the game and they don't support none of the young American fighters. They don't get behind them. They don't be supporting them through the media because they old and they bitter and they don't want to pass the torch. And that's one thing about boxers. These dudes are like some old men. They always want to live in their time and continue to think they better than what they is. And that's why you got guys like Roy Jones that still fight till they 50 years old, trying to prove something that don't even have to been proved. Your greatness has been proved 20 years ago, Roy. Bernard Hopkins, your greatness has been proved 15, 20 years ago. Why are you still fighting? You feel me? All they want to do is rip the youth, rip the new fighters, man. Build these guys up, tutor these guys, reach out. As soon as Danny Garcia split from Golden Boy, Bernard Hopkins put his tail between his legs and start hating, man. Business shouldn't get between personal relationships, you know what I mean? And you ain't nothing but a lackey over there for Oscar De La Hoya anyway. Basically he is what Bernard Hopkins is to Oscar De La Hoya what John David Jackson was to Sergey Kovalev. He a black guy sitting right there to make it seem, I'm cool with blacks, but I'm racist on the low. You feel what I'm saying? And if you got a problem with that, I'm telling the trio talk, man, about Oscar De La Hoya and those emails. But at the end of the day, let me get back on track, man. At the end of the day, Wladimir Klitschko overrated, man. His whole career overrated, man. And I ain't scared to say it, bro. I ain't scared. I don't care if you reign for 50 straight years. If you ain't won none of your big fights, and no eye-popping fights, you overrated, man. I don't care if it was a cruiserweight or middleweight moving up to heavyweight that was a pound-for-pound number one. If you ain't got no pizzazz or no color in your resume, man, his resume is black and white and only red on there is knockouts, man. And at the end of the day, I give Anthony Joshua credit for what he had to do. He passed his first tough test. But this ain't no Hall of Fame star status that put you in the pantheon of great heavyweights. Get the fuck out of here. You feel me? This dude, Anthony Joshua, he's a good fighter. I support the dude. Always has. But at the end of the day, when somebody in Marvin Hagler, when Michael Tyson gonna come out and say, when you gonna fight Deontay Wilder? When they gonna address this elephant in the room instead of, nut riding some of these other fighters and these other, international fighters instead of, when they gonna back their own fighters? You feel what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, we already know what it is. A bunch of haters. Yeah, I said it.